So, but you've clearly made some adjustments. Like last year, you had 33 walks in those 32.2 innings pitched, but now you're at 22 in the 40. You had that Player of the Month in May, which
Hmm.
is pretty cool. That those numbers were insane. I'm gonna say it for you so you don't have to. You had that 10.1 inning pitch, 7 hits, 4 walks, 14 strikeouts, and the big 0 earned runs in that time. And that was split
Hmm.
across Fresno and Spokane, which is
Hmm.
always hard. We see players kind of take a step back when they go up a level for different type of things there. So you were able to adjust kind of that. So like, what are we doing differently this year? Is it the fact that you have a whole professional year under your belt? Is it you've switched something mechanically, that mentality piece that we're kind of talking about?
Yeah.
How are we doing this in 2023?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a few different things kind of coming together. So like kind of how we talked about, the pitches by themselves in a vacuum, just the quality of pitches in general. Um, I made some tweaks going into my first year last year in Fresno, and I thought they were in a good spot, but it just kind of worked out where I didn't have a feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
The slider was just maybe a little bit too big. Wasn't throwing my changeup very much, so I didn't have a ton of feel. So I just felt like I was throwing a lot of fastballs, and I was pitching what felt like with just a fastball,
Yeah.
which it can be very tough to do when you just have that one pitch. So I think and then having some struggles early, makes you question like, do I belong here? Can I compete here? So then you kind of go down this mental rabbit hole, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. So I think this off season it was like a focus of a little bit away from the pitch quality in itself, and like, okay, like we need to learn how to use these pitches. I gotta learn. So kind of went that route, and then mentally just kind of worked on like you got to be able to deal with failure and like when things go wrong, how to process that and like
Mm-hmm.
learn from it, and like and it kind of got to the point in Fresno last year where it was like you almost like you halfway wanted to pitch, but half of you was like, yeah, it's okay, I don't want to go, because you're just like you don't want to fail, you want to succeed so bad that
Right.
you kind of get like timid in that moment, but you kind of have to look at yourself and like everything you do all day is to pitch in the games, so to get those moments. So if I'm afraid, if I have any ounce of afraid, or like it's just not gonna be a good recipe for me to succeed. And I was just kind of like paralyzed by it a little bit, so I had to
Mm-hmm.
kind of work on my mental approach and to the game, and then kind of doing that, and then tweaking my feels and getting all my pitches where I could actually use them. I think those two pieces kind of coming together allowed me to have more success this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that mental piece is something we talk a lot about, just like on the normal pod, just like with each other, then with players, and like it's such a hard thing to do. I
yeah.
don't. It's like again, everyday life. It's very difficult. So like, how did you? Like you said, you were kind of a little iffy if you wanted to actually go and compete like last year, and so
recalibrated,
this
so to
off
speak.
season,
Yeah.
what did you like? What was it like? Was that your mama telling you, "Yo, you got to figure this out," or that like kind of inner looking in, like, all right, I got
Yeah.
to find something? Is it like, what are you doing to kind of find that mental health, that mental good for there to go out and be the best you?
Yeah. I think it was just kind of me, like kind of just sitting with my thoughts a little bit, and just kind of like I had I had gone through what it, kind of a worst case scenario already. Like I had already kind of like failed, and it was just like, well, you got nothing to lose at this point. Like, so just go out there and like whatever it is, it is. So it's
Hmm.
like whether you punch out the side or you give up, multiple bombs. It's like it is what it is. So you just have to like. And I used to not like the saying where people would say, go out there and try to have fun, because it is like it's you work so hard at it, and it's like
Yeah.
it's your job, and it's it's a game as well. So I used to like not like that saying, but it was like I kind of switched my mindset on that, where it's like the more you can enjoy it and try to have fun being out there in the moment, your mind is free of all those thoughts of what if this
Hmm.
goes bad, what if this goes wrong. So when you can when I was able to switch to that mindset, like I put in all this work for this moment, so I'm going to
Yeah.
try to enjoy this moment. That those thoughts kind of leave your mind, and then you can just kind of be in the moment, and you're more of your real self, and not this version of yourself that you've created in your mind, which we
Yeah.
talk a lot about with um, our mental skills coaches that we have on staff that come to the affiliates. We have a lot of meetings with them where it's like this version that you create of yourself is not always real. So you have to be able to, identify those moments where maybe you're getting too much in your head, or the game's speeding up on you, and like, all right, like enjoy being out here. This is why you do everything that you do is for these moments. So
It's huge. I didn't know there was mental skills or mental health coaches and all that. I saw a few of them. I didn't know like they were spread out or with affiliates and stuff. That's sweet. I didn't know that. But
yeah.
like, but kind of like what you're saying, like you're competing against others, but then you're also competing against yourself, and then that's just too many battles that you can't
Hmm.
win all of at that moment.
Yeah.
And be having fun with it is just kind of like, all right, like you said, that switch, like, all right, it is what it is. I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do what I can. And if I have fun with it, it's probably gonna go a little bit better because you're out of your mind, you're out of your headspace, and you're just relying on being you, being a dog, and going
Yeah.
back to what makes you doing that. Again, going back to my professional life, like my best lessons are when I'm having fun with it, as opposed
Hmm.
to combating the students that don't want to do it. I'm like, all right, leaning in, like, all right, how can I make this fun for that kid to do it? And it's a hard work. It's a lot of work. Like it's
Yeah.
mentally draining. Like 3 o'clock hits, I'm like, I'm done.
Hmm.
But it's so much more fun, and it goes so much better in that moment when you're getting to it. And the kids obviously respond a little bit better to it too. Like I'm sure there's it's so much to that, and it's so weird to think about. Like kind of like I, I don't want to have fun. This is my job. I got to go out and compete. I got to have that
Yeah.
mental like go get them. But there is a sense of you have to have fun with what you do. Otherwise, it's what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was such a big that was such a big switch for me. It was just the more I tried to enjoy those moments, I would fall back to my training, and I felt like I was checking all the boxes in my training
Right?
to have success, but I wasn't having that success because I couldn't, get out of my own way at that point in time. So as soon as I could, flip that, um, I felt like I was performing, up to the level I was capable of performing.
Yeah. And that's huge. And being able to get that now, I mean, you're young in your professional career, like you're in your second year, you're getting into it. And so being able to figure that out now and kind of being able to build off of that, like we were talking about that pitch arsenal, you're building off of that. Here you are building on this part of the game. And
Hmm.
like there's only more success that can come from that.